1. Solipsism. What does it say? Solipsism proposes that the only thing that exists is your own mind. Everything else, including other people, the external world, and even space and time, might be illusions or creations of your mind. In other words, you are the only being that truly exists, and the rest of the world might just be a dream or an illusion. Why is it foolish? This philosophy denies any external reality and makes interaction with others or even daily life seem impossible. If only your mind exists, why should you adhere to societal laws, ethics, or even science? This philosophy essentially eliminates any foundation for social or scientific life. 2. Panpsychism. What does it say? Panpsychism believes that everything in the world, including inanimate objects like rocks, tables, or even atoms, possesses some form of consciousness or mind. In other words, everything in the world thinks or feels. Why is it foolish? The idea that a rock or table might think or be aware seems scientifically and logically unprovable and bizarre. If everything is conscious, why can't we communicate with rocks or tables? This philosophy seems more like science fiction than a serious philosophical theory. 3. Nihilism. What does it say? Nihilism asserts that nothing in the world has inherent meaning or value. Everything is meaningless and absurd, and there is no purpose or goal to life. This philosophy rejects all moral, religious, or social values. Why is it foolish? This philosophy eliminates any motivation or purpose, making life seem meaningless and aimless. If nothing has value, why should we adhere to laws or even stay alive? This philosophy can lead to complete indifference and despair. 4. Postmodernism. What does it say? Postmodernism believes that there is no objective truth, and everything is relative and dependent on individual perspectives. In other words, everyone has their own truth, and there are no objective standards for truth or ethics. Why is it foolish? This philosophy rejects any objective standards for truth or ethics and can lead to intellectual chaos and lack of criteria. If there is no objective truth, how can we agree on anything? This philosophy essentially eliminates any foundation for science, ethics, or even dialogue. 5. Xenophanes philosophy. What does it say? Xenophanes, a Greek philosopher, believed that gods resemble humans. He even suggested that if animals could create gods, their gods would resemble themselves. In other words, our concept of God is merely a reflection of ourselves. Why is it foolish? The idea that God resembles humans or that animals could create God seems more like a philosophical joke than a serious theory. This philosophy rejects any transcendent concept of God and reduces the idea of God to a simple, human-like image. 6. Diogenism. What does it say? Diogenes, a Greek philosopher, believed that humans should live like dogs and avoid all aspects of civilization. He lived in a barrel and rejected all social norms and laws. Why is it foolish? Living like an animal and rejecting all civilizational progress is not only impractical but also irrational and inhumane. If everyone lived like Diogenes, society would collapse, and no progress in science, art, or culture would occur.